Crystal champagne glasses clinked together as elegantly dressed party guests found amusement in the disturbing scene unfolding in the Whitmore estate's backyard. 28-year-old Olivia stood completely still, her hands bound securely to an ornamental post, red welts already forming on her dark skin from the tight restraints. The special dress she'd purchased for her adoptive sister Catherine's 30th birthday celebration was now stained and ripped. "Behold our family's charity. Experiment. She's always been such a disappointment, hasn't she? Couldn't even manage to graduate from university." Catherine lifted her drink high, encouraging more cruel laughter from the assembled crowd. "Tell us, Olivia, how many positions have you been terminated from this year? Was it 3 or 4? Eleanor Whitmore, Olivia's adoptive mother, observed the scene with a controlled grin while her spouse Richard chuckled openly. 15 long years within the Whitmore household, yet Olivia remained an outcast. Worse still, a charitable endeavor that had seemingly failed. She possessed all the potential to achieve greatness, yet she squandered every single chance. Eleanor remarked loudly to her circle of friends, ensuring Olivia could hear every word. "We brought her into our home to demonstrate our commitment to diversity for our children, but honestly, she's become a cautionary tale instead." Olivia could have let out a scream. She might have wept or pleaded for her freedom. But instead, she drew in a steady breath and lifted her chin with dignity. Her gaze, rather than displaying surrender, sparkled with an unexpected tranquility that unsettled several onlookers. "How come she isn't breaking down?" one guest murmured to another. "I would be absolutely humiliated." Thomas, Catherine's brother, walked over carrying a glass of water. For an instant, Olivia believed he might offer assistance. Instead, he splashed the liquid across her face, triggering another round of mocking laughter. "To help you think clearly," he taunted. "Perhaps then you'll grasp that you'll never truly belong to this family." An elderly woman, Eleanor's aunt, moved closer to Olivia and whispered, "Dear, if you simply made more effort to blend in, to become more like us, life would be much simpler." Memories rushed through Olivia's thoughts. The numerous occasions she'd been left out of family photographs, the celebrations where she worked as staff rather than joining as a guest, the inexpensive presents she received while her adopted siblings received automobiles and overseas vacations, the subtle and sometimes blatant remarks about her race and origins. Something shifted in Olivia's expression, and a recently arrived guest took notice. He moved toward the group quietly, observing the spectacle with concerning fascination. "How much longer will she remain restrained there?" he inquired of Eleanor, feigning indifference. "Oh, merely until the celebration concludes," Eleanor responded nonchalantly. "It's one of our family customs. Whenever someone commits an error, they must endure the humiliation post. But she's grown accustomed to it." What Eleanor failed to realize was that the bindings securing Olivia to the post weren't nearly as powerful as the invisible chains that had kept her bound to this harmful family for years. And those were about to break. Olivia glanced at the golden timepiece on the garden wall. 7:30 in the evening. A subtle smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, so faint that nobody detected it. In her thoughts, a countdown had commenced. While everyone reveled in her degradation, none observed the brief message that appeared on her smartwatch before vanishing. "I'm 5 minutes away. Are you prepared?" If this tale of prejudice and family cruelty moved you, make sure to subscribe to our channel to discover how Olivia transformed her most shameful moment into a comeback that nobody would ever forget, and how a carefully guarded secret was about to shake that mansion to its core. 3 months prior to that degrading birthday party, Olivia walked through the commercial district attempting to steady her breathing. She had just exited another unsuccessful job interview, her third that month. The interviewer had examined her resume with that recognizable look of contempt when he noticed the address of her neighborhood. "You possess the credentials, but we're seeking someone who would integrate better with our corporate environment," he had stated, barely concealing the true reason for her rejection. Olivia understood exactly what integrate better implied. She sat on a park bench watching business executives in costly suits enter and exit glass-fronted buildings. Tears threatened to emerge, but she suppressed them. She wouldn't grant the world that satisfaction, not after 15 years of restraining her tears in the Whitmore estate. That's when a man casually took a seat beside her. He was dressed modestly, yet something about his bearing suggested confidence. "Difficult day?" he asked, extending a handkerchief without making direct eye contact. "You couldn't possibly understand," Olivia responded, surprised by her own openness. "Give me a chance to listen," he smiled. "I'm Marcus Chen, and I guarantee I'm an excellent listener." Something about his composure dismantled her barriers. Olivia shared her experience with the interview, about the perpetually closed opportunities, about the sensation of constantly lagging behind despite her commitment. She avoided mentioning the Whitmores. Some wounds were too personal to share with strangers. Marcus listened intently without interruption. When she concluded, he simply stated, "You're the most capable person I've encountered in months, and my organization needs someone exactly like you." Olivia laughed with bitterness. "You haven't even reviewed my credentials." "I don't need to. I've witnessed your perseverance." The following week, Olivia was employed by Horizon Innovations, a rapidly growing technology firm. Nobody at the Whitmore residence believed it or showed concern. "It's likely some volunteer position," Catherine remarked during dinner, refilling her wine glass. "Or perhaps it's a diversity initiative. They have requirements to meet, you understand." Richard, the family head, chuckled. "It won't survive 3 weeks. Recall when she attempted working at that art gallery? She was dismissed in under a month." "What?" They remained unaware of was that Olivia had been undermined at that position. Eleanor had contacted the gallery owner, an old acquaintance, suggesting that Olivia had integrity issues, the identical strategy she had employed at Olivia's previous 3 jobs. But this situation was different. Marcus didn't merely provide Olivia an opportunity. He shielded her. As Horizon's CEO, he ensured no external interference would impact her work performance, and Olivia flourished. Her aptitude for data analysis, suppressed by years of devaluation, proved remarkable. Meanwhile, at the estate, animosity intensified. Olivia's unexpected achievement deeply frustrated the Whitmores. They escalated the humiliations, the coded racist remarks, the snide observations about her appearance and heritage. "It's endearing how she continues attempting," Eleanor commented, during brunch with her companions. "We welcomed her knowing it would be challenging, but frankly, there's only so much we can accomplish for someone who simply doesn't possess." "Well, you understand?" Her friends nodded with sympathy. One of them peered through the window and noticed Olivia arriving in a new vehicle, modest yet new. "Appears the volunteer work is providing benefits," she commented maliciously. What none of them observed was the gleam in Olivia's eyes each time she discreetly checked her smartwatch. Marcus wasn't merely her supervisor. In recent weeks, he had become her confidant, then her companion, and eventually much more. One evening, following a particularly harsh family dinner where Thomas accidentally spilled sauce on her white blouse, Olivia discovered Marcus waiting at a quiet cafe several blocks away. "I can't endure this anymore," she admitted, shaking with suppressed fury. 15 years of being treated like a failed charitable experiment. Marcus grasped her hands. "Why do you continue residing there?" "I made a promise to my birth mother before her death. She knew Eleanor from university and believed she would provide a good family for me." Olivia took a deep breath. "And part of me always hoped that someday they would recognize me for who I truly am, that I belong to the family." "What if I told you there's another family awaiting you?" Marcus asked gently, his eyes revealing deep emotions. The romance developed in secrecy. Marcus revealed himself to be not only Horizon's CEO, but the owner of a technology empire worth billions. His modesty was a deliberate choice. He preferred being judged by his character, not his wealth. When Marcus proposed 2 months later, Olivia accepted with one condition. Nobody in the Whitmore family would learn about it. Not yet. She had something to demonstrate first, not just to them, but to herself. Together, they created a strategy. Olivia maintained a low profile at the estate, enduring every insult, every humiliation with a new composure that puzzled the family. She began gathering evidence, recording conversations, preserving cruel text messages, documenting every instance of psychological abuse. A week before Catherine's birthday, Olivia and Marcus made their union official in a private ceremony with only 2 witnesses. Not even their closest friends were aware yet. "When will we inform them?" Marcus asked as they signed the papers. "At the perfect moment," Olivia responded. "When they cannot deny what they've done, when the entire world is watching." What the Whitmores interpreted as submission was actually the calculated composure of someone who knew exactly what was approaching. Behind her silence grew not just a plan for revelation, but a new existence, one they could never have imagined for the failure they had adopted. As Olivia remained bound to the post at that party, her smartwatch vibrated once more. The plan had been expedited. Marcus wasn't 5 minutes away. He was already present among the guests, observing everything, recording every moment of the public humiliation that the Whitmores believed to be just another family tradition, and he wasn't alone. In the estate's garage, an unremarkable car waited with Sophia Martinez, the most respected investigative journalist on the East Coast, a woman known for dismantling empires built on prejudice and abuse. Beside her sat James Washington, the attorney who had successfully prosecuted 3 of the nation's largest corporations for systematic discrimination. The rope binding Olivia to the post appeared strong, but not stronger than her determination. While everyone laughed and consumed champagne at her expense, nobody realized that every second of that humiliation wasn't the conclusion of her story. It was merely the beginning of the end for the Whitmore family. The golden clock displayed 7:45 p.m. when the sound of a helicopter pierced through the party chatter. The guests looked skyward, confused as the wind from the rotors disturbed the floral displays. The helicopter touched down in the neighboring field, displaying the Horizon Innovations emblem. Eleanor scowled. "Who has the audacity to land on our property without authorization?" Before anyone could respond, Marcus Chen walked across the lawn, accompanied by a woman wearing a press badge and a man in an immaculate suit. Silence descended as he strode directly to the post where Olivia remained tied. "Who are you?" Richard shouted, positioning himself in their path. Marcus disregarded him, retrieving a pocket knife and severing the ropes binding Olivia. Tenderly, he draped his jacket over her shoulders and examined her injured wrists. "Are you all right?" he asked softly. Olivia nodded, permitting a single tear to fall. Marcus finally confronted Richard. "I'm Marcus Chen, CEO of Horizon Innovations and Olivia's spouse." Catherine's glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the stone patio. "Spouse?" Eleanor recovered, forcing laughter. "That's ridiculous. Olivia doesn't even have a romantic partner." The woman beside Marcus stepped forward. "Sophia Martinez, CNN. We're documenting this event for a series on family discrimination and psychological abuse." "This is private property," Richard bellowed. "Actually," the man in the suit interrupted, "we're here at the invitation of Olivia Chen, a resident of this house. James Washington, attorney. These are the court orders we secured this afternoon." Richard's eyes widened as he recognized the name of the famous civil rights lawyer. Marcus gently squeezed Olivia's hand. It was time. She stepped forward, breaking her silence. "For 15 years, you made me believe I was worthless." Her voice resonated through the silent garden. "You labeled me a failure, inadequate, ungrateful. You made me function as a servant, while pretending to be my parents." "This is absurd," Catherine protested. "Olivia has always been troubled." She was interrupted when the screens throughout the garden changed. Instead of Catherine's photographs, screenshots of messages from the Whitmore family appeared. "Catherine, someone needs to remind our sister that charity isn't kinship. Does she really think she's attending the gala with us?" "Eleanor, I contacted the principal at Westfield today. I explained that Olivia has emotional difficulties. We've managed to keep it within the family." "Thank goodness." Richard. "The diversity project failed. Who knew raising a black child would be so complicated?" The guests gasped collectively. Some began discreetly departing. "These represent just a few of the thousands of messages I've documented," Olivia explained calmly. "I also possess recordings, statements, and medical reports of the injuries I've sustained." "Injuries?" someone whispered. "What do you think occurred when I was constantly falling?" Olivia slightly rolled up her sleeve, revealing old scars. Thomas lunged forward, enraged. "You're destroying everything!" Marcus stepped between them. "What exactly did you do to her, Thomas? Tie her to a post or sabotage her university application?" The screens changed again, displaying financial documents from the Whitmore Foundation with questionable transfers highlighted in red. Eleanor staggered. "You cannot do this. Our reputation—" "Your reputation?" Olivia repeated. "You're concerned about reputation when you tied me to a post before 100 people?" A drone flew over the garden, filming the scene. More drones appeared, some bearing news channel logos. "This is being broadcast live," Sophia informed them, "and tomorrow it will be front-page news in every major newspaper." Richard finally grasped the magnitude of what was occurring. "What do you want? Money? We can negotiate." "I don't want your money," Olivia interrupted. "I simply want to be treated like a human being." James Washington stepped forward. "However, your financial records have revealed irregularities that have already been forwarded to the authorities. We have sufficient evidence to pursue charges of emotional distress, psychological abuse, and possibly physical abuse." The guests began distancing themselves from the Whitmore family as if they carried a contagious disease. Aunt Elizabeth, Eleanor's older sister, approached Olivia. "I always suspected, but I never had the courage to intervene. Please forgive me." Olivia looked at her. "You knew and did nothing." Marcus placed a protective arm around Olivia's shoulders. "Shall we go?" She nodded, but before turning away she looked at Catherine. "Do you know the difference between us? You never had to prove your worth to be loved. I spent my entire life trying until I realized the problem was never me." As Olivia and Marcus departed from the estate, the Whitmore social empire crumbled in real time. The world now witnessed as a facade of perfection collapsed, revealing years of cruelty and discrimination. And the question lingering in the air was simple. What happens when those who built their identity on the humiliation of others suddenly find themselves exposed to the same scrutiny they imposed on others? The answer would begin to unfold the next morning when the first newspaper hit the stands with the headline, "Prominent Family Exposed: The Hidden Face of the American Elite." The morning following the exposure, Olivia's story dominated national headlines. Her face appeared on every screen, no longer as a victim, but as a symbol of resistance. The hashtag #OliviaStrong trended as experts debated predatory transracial adoption and institutionalized abuse in elite families on morning talk shows. "It was never about vengeance," Olivia explained in her first and only exclusive interview given 3 months after the incident. "It was about truth, about demonstrating that people like me don't have to remain invisible." The interview, recorded in Olivia and Marcus's new apartment in Chicago, revealed a transformed woman, confident, articulate, and finally free from the burden of 15 years of abuse. At her side, Marcus remained discreet, allowing the focus to remain entirely on her. The Whitmores, conversely, experienced a fall from grace that was as rapid as it was devastating. Richard lost his position on the board of 3 major companies after investigations revealed that he had used his influence to sabotage the careers of promising Black employees. Eleanor witnessed her social connections vanish overnight. The same friends who had applauded her charity in adopting Olivia now denied any close association. "I'm not racist," Eleanor insisted in a disastrous interview attempt where she ended up calling the reporter too sensitive when asked about particularly offensive messages. "Olivia has always had difficulty fitting in. We did our best." Catherine, whose wedding had been canceled by her horrified fiancé, became persona non grata in her social circle. Her career as a digital influencer imploded when sponsors withdrew contracts en masse. She attempted to capitalize on an apology video, but comments were disabled after an avalanche of criticism. Thomas, faced with allegations of physical abuse, confronted even more severe consequences when former employees of his company came forward with similar stories. A pattern of predatory behavior emerged, resulting in his dismissal and multiple lawsuits. The Whitmore's financial empire collapsed when auditors uncovered tax irregularities at their charitable foundation. Ironically, the same foundation they used to promote themselves as champions of diversity. The mansion was listed for sale to cover mounting legal debts. Meanwhile, Olivia refused to remain just the woman who was tied to the pole. With Marcus's support, she founded the Initiative for Ethical Adoption, IEA, an organization dedicated to reforming transracial adoption practices and providing psychological support to adopted children facing challenges of identity and belonging. "Scars don't disappear," she explained during the inauguration of the IEA's first center 2 years after the incident, "but we can transform them into tools to build a better world." Aunt Elizabeth, the only member of the Whitmore family to show genuine remorse, became a volunteer at the foundation, working tirelessly to compensate for years of silent complicity. "I learned the hard way that neutrality in the face of oppression is choosing the side of the oppressor," she confessed in a support group for family members. 5 years after that fateful night, Olivia published her memoir, not a sensationalized account of abuse, but a profound reflection on identity, belonging, and in the journey to finding her own voice. The book became an instant bestseller and is now required reading and social work courses at universities across the country. One autumn afternoon, as Olivia signed copies at a Manhattan bookstore, a woman in line caught her attention. It was Catherine, looking remarkably different. No expensive makeup, jewelry, or air of superiority. "I don't expect forgiveness," Catherine said when she finally reached the front of the line. "I just wanted you to know that your book changed something in me." Olivia studied the face of the woman she had once called sister. "It was never about forgiveness, Catherine. It was about accountability." She handed her the signed book, and before Catherine walked away, added, "I hope you find peace. I found mine." Today, Olivia Chen runs one of the most respected organizations advocating for the rights of adopted children in the country. Her story inspired stricter legislation on adoption practices and awareness of systemic discrimination. The post to which she was tied became a symbol not of humiliation, but of transformation. Marcus and Olivia now have 2 adopted children, raised in a home where diversity is celebrated, not tolerated. Their home is always open to young people transitioning from the adoption system to adulthood. True justice, Olivia often reflects, is not in the downfall of those who hurt you, but in building a legacy that ensures other children never experience what you did. Marcus's wealth provided comfort, but it was Olivia's inner strength that created meaning. In speeches across the country, she always concludes with the same words: "Don't let the scars of your past define your future. Let them inform your compassion, strengthen your resolve, and guide your mission. The greatest revenge against those who try to diminish you is to grow so powerful that your very existence becomes an act of revolution." The latest news about the Whitmores reveals that Eleanor lives in seclusion, Richard faces possible imprisonment for tax fraud, and Thomas is serving supervised community service. The mansion where Olivia was humiliated has been converted into a community center for youth from marginalized communities. Olivia's life is not defined by what the Whitmores did to her, but by what she chose to do with her pain. The woman who was tied to a pole now frees others from their own invisible chains. If this story about turning pain into purpose touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories about people who turned their greatest challenges into their most extraordinary victories.